The College Observatory, built in 1905 after design by McKim, Mead, and White. The card was sent to Providence in 1907.
Where was that located?
Let's see,
It's a little down from the football field.
down by Pratt,
No,
by Pratt Field,
Pratt Field.
Pratt Field.
Near David's Eye.
On top of the college observatory, the photographer is pointing his camera straight toward Johnson Chapel. In the Scott card sent in 1907, the correspondence writes, "Cross marks sanatorium." See the cross? Cross marks sanatorium, where I am slowly recuperating. The cross is there, obscured by trees. See how wooded the area was a century ago. Pratt Field was completed in 1891. In the lower photo, the baseball diamond is visible. The grandstand burned in 1899 and was immediately rebuilt. This card was sent to New York in 1907. On top is a late fall scene with the field lined for football. Two carriages, their horses covered by blankets, stand in back of a crowd of people. Look how clearly Johnson Chapel dominates the scene. A pen belonging to an unidentified person with initials SPC writes on the card at the bottom, "Hail Alma Mater high upon her living throne." This card was sent on October 12, 1906 to Hazel in Westfield, Mass. And although these lines are familiar now to Amherst men and women, they weren't then. The date of the card was sent, 1906, makes it quite remarkable. This is the year when Jimmy Hamilton wrote the words and the music to "High Upon Her Living Throne" and Lord Jeffrey Amherst. So Mr. SPC was responsible for being sure that the lyrics arrived early in Westfield on a pictured postcard. He signed off the card with the inscription, "Will write tomorrow." SPC is writing to Hazel Cheney in Dickinson Hall, Westfield State College. Perhaps this is another postcard romance, we won't know. Let's stay with the panoramic views as we again climb to the top of Johnson Chapel and we look northeast. We saw the same card in its color version earlier, the Pelham Hills in the back. Still, on top of the chapel, we look in the opposite direction to the southwest. We see Pratt Field directly in the center and the observatory to the south along Pleasant Street. The card was sent to California in July 1907. The correspondent selected a postcard to express herself because, in her words, "It's too warm to write letters." A sampling of fraternity photos a century ago. Alpha Delta Phi house seen in its second iteration. This stone building, built in 1889, was replaced in 1928 by what is Hitchcock House today, our reunion headquarters. This German-made card was sent in 1905 to South Berwick, Maine via RFD, or Rural Free Delivery. Begun in 1896, the American Institution of Rural Free Delivery provided for mail delivery to a resident's front gate rather than obliging one to go to a faraway post office. Beta Theta Pi House, built in 1883 on Boltwood Avenue, replaced in 1916 by what is now Garment House. This card was sent from North Amherst to Vermont in 1910. Phi Kappa Psi House, built in 1895 and stood on Amity Street. In 1922, Phi Psi moved to the former home of Amherst President Seeley on College Street, its present location as Drew House. The last card constitutes your final exam. It's labeled Hitchcock Hall with the card having a manufacture date of 1905. Is it still standing, or what is in its place? Yes. Observe the sloping terrain in front and the old Williston Tower on the right. This was the residence of Lucius Boltwood, built in 1835. The college bought the property in 1892. When this picture was taken, it served as the first dining commons that accommodated 100 students, including Stanley King. We're sitting on the site of, or Converse is on the site of Hitchcock Hall. It was demolished in 1916 to make way for the construction of that library. For any of you who are interested at a later time in revisiting Amherst photography and memorabilia, let me suggest a website set up by Amherst graduate Brian Meacham, class of '97. The site includes over 450 different postcards of the college, as well as examples of Amherst music, recordings, medals, pins, writing, signatures of college presidents, scrapbooks, etc. He has personally collected and classified. Serious collectors subscribe to The Postcard Collector, a monthly trade magazine with lists of upcoming postcard shows all over the country. Perhaps you will chance upon some old Amherst postcards at an antique store, an estate sale, a bookshop, or an attic. You can delight in reading other people's mails in periods when it was too warm to write a letter. Or you prefer to put off writing a letter. You too can play sleuth, looking out for the rare undivided back cards, figuring out a correspondent's name from the initials, rediscovering some ancient Amherst scene or signature. While people now are writing fewer letters, the postcard industry has shown few signs of decadence. Thanks very much.
Any questions? Yes, Pete?
Steve, often in the right-hand upper corner, there was a 3 with 2 zeros or a 5 with 3 zeros. Does that mean these cards were really $3 or $5?
Well, that's what's fun. It looks as though it's a cheap hobby.
But it wasn't.
Postcards, you used to be able to get them for about a quarter.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you see $3, that's what I paid for it. It could have been that I haggled and got it for $1.50. It could have been that it was old stock in a postcard store, and when I saw the card and wanted it, they said, oh, those were our prices 20 years ago. You have to multiply by 10. So a lot of people do ask about prices, and a lot of it depends on how good a copy it is and how old it is. Some people collect only postcards with writing on it. I'm interested generally in the picture, but see how it enhances it to have writing, have a message. And some people buy a mediocre card until they get a better one, and then they replace it.
That was the collector's price. What was the original price of the card?
Oh, probably a nickel. Nan?
I noticed when you were describing the card of the college roll and everything, I noticed the senior bench. Does everybody remember those?
Well, you mean the senior fence in front of the octagon?
Is it still there?
Oh, the senior fence is still there. Yeah, it's a little more dilapidated, but it's there. Yeah, you can see it today.
Yeah, I know it.
That was a tradition that the seniors would get the pictures.
Right.
Sit on the stairs. And the statue of what's his name is there.
Okay, Steve, thank you very much. Oh, you can stay afterwards. I'm sure Steve will be happy